Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the ways that this campaign, as I'd warned a long time ago, has descended into the worst general election campaign I've known. And I don't mean in terms of the incompetence of the Conservative campaign. That is next level. I've discussed that a lot. I mean in terms of like the nastiness. Now, this nastiness has come from a number of quarters, all of them predictable, I think. But there has been a new low to hit the campaign this week, which I did not talk about because I did not anticipate. Ordinarily, I would have talked about it yesterday. I was in hospital having my head stabbed. So if I resembled Boris Johnson for a few days and it looks like I've combed my hair with a shoe, it's because I can't get the wound wet and my hair doesn't behave itself unless I've washed it first. But anyway, the lack of moral boundaries among some in this campaign has not been a surprise to me, although I did make one bizarre prophetic prediction about the Tories yesterday morning that I did not expect to come true. But I'll get onto that in a moment. The most shocking thing this week was surely the savage attack on the son of a candidate in Sutton Coldfield. Now, the man was beaten up by a group of thugs who jumped off motorbikes with baseball bats and a knife. He's now reported to have injuries to his back and head. It's like something out of a gangster film. And I cannot believe we've had this in a UK general election. This is surely a new low. The candidate himself, Wajad Burki, is reported to have suspended campaigning out of fear of further attacks. So the final 2 days of campaigning just not going ahead for him. Now, sure, people may remember that, hang on a minute, George Galloway had his own band of thugs in 2021. Physical threats, intimidation against Labour's Kim Ledbetter, the sister of an MP who was literally murdered by an extremist for political reasons. It required police protection. They were that bad. But that doesn't mean we should be less shocked or sympathetic that this has happened just because it's to someone in that party. Like, I don't know the victim or the candidate myself. They may be very nice, genuine people. But I do know we cannot really stand by while scenes like this occur. And during an election, because it's a bit like, you know, on a smaller scale, the insurrection in America. If you let them get away with it, what's to stop them doing it again? You know, or what's to stop another group doing it again? I'd also like to know if the police offered, protection for this campaign. Because, you know, for the remainder of the campaign. Because Ledbetter got police protection when Galloway's thugs were targeting her. Nigel Farage got police protection when someone threw a paper cup at him. Did Burki get an offer of protection? I don't know. The reports are limited. The time scale looked like it may well be that he just cancelled the campaigning fairly quickly before any such offer could be made. But although this has been reported in the mainstream media, that's how I know about it, I'm not sure it's really had the prominence it should. Like, there's nothing on the front page of the newspapers, for example. It's not one of these stories that's triggered off a load of articles going, well, what's happened to our democracy where this sort of thing can happen? It's an undeniably savage attack, clearly designed to disrupt the democratic process as well, and it appears to have succeeded. But although that is an unexpected low, there's also been a wholly expected lack of moral compass around various other campaigns as well. The Conservatives have simply not observed any moral boundaries at all. I actually can't identify any line they've refused to cross. Yesterday morning, I was waiting for my biopsy. I browsing through Twitter. I saw Rishi Sunak had posted a new Conservative advert with the family holding its hands up, looking like they were about to be shot if Labour wins the election. Now, they'd launched a version of this advert before, but they've added an extra couple of family members, really, to double down on it. And I joked that the next day they'll put a kitten there and then a puppy for polling day. I did not expect to be foreseeing the future with quite so much clarity, because that is pretty much what they've done. There are now Tory adverts out there implying that, you know, if we get a Labour government, a kitten and a puppy will be getting it. This is to say nothing of the disgusting levels of hypocrisy. A few weeks ago, Rishi Sunak says he admires the fact that Starmer sets aside time for his family. Now, when Starmer says he will set aside time after 6 p.m. on Fridays for Shabbat, as his wife is Jewish, they claim he's clocking off early. Oh, and every evening as well, not just that one. And he will be a part-time Prime Minister, which is not only a deliberate lie, because Starmer made it clear when he was explaining this that, yes, of course he would be responding to emergencies, but it also let their anti-Semitic mask slip, didn't it? The Conservatives have been fairly free with allowing Islamophobic comments from their members and even MPs. during the crisis in the Middle East. But they've been keen to highlight cases of anti-Semitism as bad. This is because it has suited them. They don't actually care if anyone, Jewish people, Muslim people, anyone are suffering attacks. They just see the conflict purely through their divide and rule instincts. Pro-Palestinian protesters are generally on the left, and therefore an opportunity arose to stoke divisions in their favour, which they have successfully done. It's pretty much the only thing they're good at. But by attacking Starmer for saying that he will set aside time for a Jewish custom for his family, they've let the mask slip. Like, if, for example, if Starmer was a churchgoer and insisted that he would still go to church of a Sunday morning as Prime Minister, do you think a single Tory would attack that? No, of course not. And then, of course, we've had Reform UK said, I said a very long time ago, they don't have the infrastructure to vet candidates. They said they were going to stand candidates in every seat. Now, they haven't, but they have stood them in the vast majority of seats in Britain. They just don't have the infrastructure to do that properly. To get candidates who understand where the lines are. We know what the candidates were largely going to be like, but the ones who understand what you can say and what you can't say in public. See, Nigel Farage is quite good at knowing what he can get away with, although he still slips up in this campaign. But the nature of the party is it attracts those who've fallen down rabbit holes into some of the worst echo chambers. They genuinely don't understand their own extremism. We often talk about people who don't understand their own privilege in life. These people don't understand their own extremism. They think it's more mainstream than it really is because they just talk to each other, this select group, this echo chamber, who just, all agree with each other. And they think it's normal. They think it's mainstream because, they come from a few different backgrounds and they think they're representative of their population. And so inevitably candidates have had to be dropped by the dozen as one by one they're outed for the disgusting things they've done and said. The Channel 4 expose really blew things up, but the fallout was already underway. And in this last week, the polls are indicating that the Conservatives are gaining a little and Reform UK losing a little. Now, it is worth bearing in mind a couple of things. First of all, it could just be corrections. I've said for a long time, I think Reform show the vote has been inflated, and as a result, the Conservative show the vote has been artificially suppressed. So any shift in the numbers in some polls isn't definitely real. Could just be, as we get closer, we're just getting close to the real value as undecided voters declare their intentions. Remember, one of the biggest issues for polls has been, what do you do about undecided voters? Well, the closer you get to poll day, the fewer of them there are. Second, what movement is real, and there is some real movement, could just be the sort of pragmatic thinking you get from voters as we approach polling day. It's very common for some voters to think about how their vote can actually influence the result in their constituency, and although they like that party nationally, decide to swing behind a different candidate, the one that's got the genuine chance of winning. And in almost every seat in the country, that isn't Reform UK. So although some pollsters think there is evidence that Reform has suffered from their indiscipline and even Farage's car crash over Ukraine, I would say it's sort of inconclusive. I can believe it because Farage has certainly been trying to put fires out. So he believes that it's caused him a problem. But how big a problem, that is less clear cut to me at this point. Maybe post-election polling will help. I am just thankful that despite the nastiness from the Conservatives, Reform UK, a couple of others, that they've run such a shockingly incompetent campaign. I mean, look at the position the Conservatives are taking now into their final hours. This is now sort of the last day of the campaign. Yeah, campaigning will carry on tomorrow when the polls are open, but that's mostly to get people to turn out. First of all, Rishi Sunak is pushing this idea of a Labour supermajority. Now, remember, the concept doesn't exist in the UK. It does in some countries, not in the UK. If your majority is enough to overcome rebels within your party, then that's it. That's all you need. You don't get extra powers with a larger majority. So if Labour get 360 seats, that's the majority. If they get 400, that's a bigger majority. Doesn't get them any extra powers. If they get 450, doesn't get them any extra powers. So another deliberate lie aiming to take advantage of people who don't understand how our political system works. Although I'm not going to class this sort of lie as like one of the disgusting ones, unlike some of the others, like with the taxes, the accidental anti-Semitism, the less than accidental Islamophobia and transphobia, attacks on young people, threatening the puppy. It's sort of, I would put that in sort of the area of political spin. And some people think it's working to get disaffected Conservative voters out who might otherwise stay at home. However, there are a couple of small flaws in the plan, potentially. The first is that Rishi Sunak also spent yesterday saying it was possible to get a hung parliament. Well, which is it? Are Labour on for a landslide, or is there a chance of a hung parliament? That is mixed messaging. If a hung parliament's still on the cards, people can't take the Labour win for granted, can they? So although the supermajority line might work on some, it could have the opposite effect on others. Remember, a lot of voters don't really know what the polls are saying. There's quite a few in the media don't seem to understand either. The second problem is that you're effectively telling a different type of voter that there's going to definitely be a Labour government anyway. So what's the harm in them taking a stand against what they see as the problems with Rishi Sunak, the Marxist, remember that's what they call him, leading the Conservatives and Vote Reform UK to send a message? Because what Sunak's really doing here is he's using the same line effectively as the Green Party. The Greens are using this to push in their target seats and, you know, successfully. The Conservatives are potentially implying the same argument, but for voters on the right, except in their case, it's working against their interests. So the campaign ends like it began, confused, full of negativity and lies. You know, we're getting the final polls coming in over the course of today. I'll probably cover them all in one go tomorrow or something rather than do a couple of videos because I think people are polled out. But I'll just leave you with the news that of the ones to have already come out, there's a big Salvation one yesterday, they're painting a picture that has been a consistent picture now for the last couple of weeks. Yes, the Tories are likely to finish in second place, but it's so close. It's extremely close. So link in the description below for you to check if you or someone you know is in particularly one of the 80 key seats where tactical voting will do the most good at this point because it's really knife edge as far as we can tell. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for further content and click the like button. You can also sign up for memberships if you'd like to support the channel further. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.